Hello, welcome to North Fulton Serves, a podcast where we share stories about people making a difference in our community and learn about how we can get more involved. I'm your host, Jason Binder, and with me today is my friend Theo Keyserling from about any organization I can think of. But Meridian Partners is your day job, and Roswell Rotarian. Welcome, Theo. Thanks for joining me today. And we're going to be discussing more about what you do in Roswell and how you make organizations work.
All right, great. Thanks for having me.
So I have to admit, I've known you for a while now, and I was very nervous because you're a high energy person and you bring your A game. So I've had a gallon of coffee and ate an extra bowl of Wheaties. So excellent. I think I'm good to go.
You're going to need it because I just took my earrings out.
I know. I saw that. So we'll get right into it and see how it turns out. But tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do for your day job?
So I own an executive search firm, and we cater to the Fortune 500. And what we do inside that is we build teams. And typically those are corporate finance teams, but in organizations that I know really well, we come outside of finance and recruit all over the spectrum into marketing, into operations. And we have a good deal of clients that are in the manufacturing arena, but we recruit on a national basis. And for some of our clients, we'll even recruit abroad.
Wow. And how long have you been doing that?
So I've been in the search industry for 18 years. So since I came out of college, and I worked for a large international recruiting firm and relocated with them when they did an acquisition in Germany and worked abroad for 3 years, and then came back and realized how much Atlanta traffic impacted my life. Also, the owner of the firm at the time when I left to go to Germany, he sold to private equity. And the component of serving your community, he was big in service in the city of Atlanta, came out of the culture of the organization. And I didn't realize how important that was to me until it was taken away. So that was one of the antithesis of Meridian Group Partners was I wanted to create a company where I could serve my clients, but also serve my community.
And how long have you been in Roswell?
So we've been in Roswell. We came back in 2010.
Okay. So we're similar on that too, because I moved to Alpharetta in 2010.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's focus on our commonalities.
That's how the prequel started on this adversarial relationship that we have. So I've known you. I think the first time I met you was with my lunch with my fellow president for the year, Jeff McCoy.
Yes.
So he was the Roswell Rotary president. And before you came in, he was talking you up and said, Theo's amazing. She's going to take this golf challenge and just kick it out of the park for me. And there's nothing she can't do.
I extort well.
You do. And then you walked in like on cue and then asked me for a sponsorship for your golf event. So you weren't afraid to ask her anything.
No.
And normally people don't do this, but you got me knocked off my heels right away. Didn't know what to expect. Your mind was moving, your mouth was moving faster, and I couldn't respond to anything. And I think I said, yes, whatever you want. And so I was like, okay, next time I see her, I just gotta make sure I know what I'm getting into.
Yes, I would. I have a reputation when it comes to charity in Roswell to hold on to your wallet.
That's right. That's just leave it at the door.
I have no issues with asking people for money for a good cause. It comes naturally to me. So, if I see you, I'm going to ask.
I was very impressed. So, as a Rotarian, what are some of the passion projects? They always talk about your Rotarian moment, or what gets you as a Rotarian that you'll speak of.
So, I'm a third generation Rotarian. So, my grandfather started a club in Beaufort, South Carolina. My dad is the same member of that club in Beaufort, South Carolina. It's my heritage club, and I'll go back and I speak to them as well. But when my dad said I was having an issue re-assimilating into American culture, and so it was difficult to move to Germany. It was more difficult to move back. So my dad said, well, you got to go to Rotary. I didn't know a soul in Roswell Rotary when I walked through the door. And the first person I saw when I walked through was Steve Stroud. And there's not a more welcoming person in Roswell than Steve Stroud. So I immediately felt the sense of belonging and that I was supposed to be there. But my outside of the golf and tennis tournament that we do with Rotary, which funds a lot of charities in North Fulton, my Rotary moment was when a gentleman came to speak from Montgomery, Alabama. And I had been looking for an international project to serve with, realizing that a dollar can go a lot further in some other places where I can spend a lot of time volunteering for causes that mean things here. A dollar can go further in other places. So a gentleman came and his name was Ron, and he was focused on feeding school children as a means to retain them in school in rural Honduras.
Okay.
And it's not a region of Honduras that people want to go to. It's not close to Roatan. It's on the Pacific side. There is not a lot of industry, and it really spoke to me. And so that was he was a Rotarian in Montgomery, Alabama, and that was my Rotary kind of aha moment.
And so you heard him speak.
Yes.
And then you're like, okay, I'm in.
I was in before he even walked off the stage. So my husband and I sponsored a school through my company. Then Roswell Rotary sponsored a school. And over the course of the last 6 years, I think now 70% of their overall, this Alabama-based organization, 70% of their revenue stream is coming from Roswell, and their executive director is from Roswell as well. So I would
have loved to have that moment when he came off the stage and you said, I'm all in. And he's like, oh, well, that's great. No, you don't get it.
No,
I'm all in.
Well, and it was even worse then because I was pregnant.
Okay.
And so he's looking at me like, oh yeah, whatever. And so I don't know if he knew what was coming towards him. But he definitely found out.
That's awesome. So what have you been to those schools in Honduras and visited?
Yes. So I've been probably half a dozen times. So I'm particular about wanting to check on the investments that I care about in a charitable way. So even in when I chaired the golf and tennis tournament for Rotary, I went to every single charity that we gave money to just so I would understand what I was working for.
I did the same thing as community development director
in
Alpharetta. And it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And and once you know, you can't unsee it.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. I'm not like you where I can go in and just no matter what, get it going. But if I'm passionate about it because I feel connected, then it starts to be game over. And I have somewhat a fraction of your tenaciousness on there when asking for money and support.
I've experienced some of your tenaciousness in a negative way. We'll get into that later, though.
Let's put a pin on that.
But yeah, once you see and once you know, I invested prior to going down there, and then I went down there and I thought, oh my goodness, this is something, and this is something that people need to see and know about. And so I've been like a hurricane ever since then. So,
and one of the events that you have, I think every February I see, is Hearts for Honduras.
Yes.
Now, how long have you been doing that? And tell me a little bit more.
This past year was our 5th year, and it's really the first year that we did it. It's a benefit for Lunches for Learning, and the board of Lunches for Learning wasn't sure that this was the direction that we should go. And so we had a small committee, and the committee was maybe 5 people, and they were all Roswell Rotarians. And the goal was, it was an awareness campaign. And I said, I was the chairman the first year. I said, I want to throw such a good party that people are going to say, man, that was a great party. I want to come back next year. And, it worked. And so it's still a small team that we have. And it is probably 20% of the revenue base for Lunches for Learning at this point.
When you say small team, how many people is that?
We have 6.
Okay.
So, and it's 6 people that all bring a unique skill set to the table. We kind of cherry picked the individuals. A, they were invested financially in Honduras, but B, they have they're not my friends. I mean, we are friends because of our service work together, but
you have a camaraderie now.
We have a camaraderie, but everybody brings something, a unique piece to the table, and everybody knows their role. They stay in their lane, and we trust each other. And so we meet twice a year, and that's it.
Twice. You said twice a year.
Yeah.
For this event.
Yes.
And the event has about how many people?
It sells out every year. So we may need to move it out of Roswell because there is not a venue.
I've got a list of venues for you.
I know. So we do anywhere from 186 was oversold, but we try to keep it at 180.
One of the favorite, was it 2 years ago? Again, with Jeff. Jeff, I think, is one of the most genuine, nicest guys. That
he believes the best in everybody, which is probably why he's friends with you. Because he doesn't see the other side.
I need more friends like Jeff that just doesn't judge me and just says, you know what, I accept you for who you are. And no, Jeff's fantastic. And one of the neatest things I think I saw was that a year or two ago that you brought in his student that he worked with for GRSP.
So yes. So Jeff McCoy teases me that I extort him, but at the same time,
that is true.
I do, for charity. But at the same time, we have a lot of fun with it. So we flew back his foreign exchange student as a surprise to him for being the mainline sponsor last year or 2 years ago.
Which I thought was such a neat way to thank him for all those years of extortion.
Oh yeah. So, and he knows it all. It all comes from a good place, and that's why when he does see me, it's usually with it's either 90% excitement, 10% fear, 10% fear.
You know, within the first 3 seconds what you're coming for.
Oh,
so
yeah.
At least you get it over with quickly.
Yeah, and then we can be friends.
No, I thought that was neat. So part of this podcast of what I'm doing here is I want to help individuals create a toolkit. So if they have ideas, what they can do to form organizations, form events, fundraise, get digital outreach, those kind of things. And you hit on it a little bit, and I want to talk about it more, is about your organizational structure, or when you're creating these events, why you're doing it. And what I like to hear is that you have 6 people, so you have a minimal group, and then only 2 meetings, where a lot of times when we sign up as volunteers, we get death by meetings and really overdo it. So how do you look at it when you're forming your A team for an event?
So you're probably not going to believe I'm going to say this, but I do have some weak points. So basically,
that we don't know about.
So basically, I look at where I'm deficient in whatever cause it is that I'm trying to achieve, or whatever objective that I'm trying to achieve, and form a team around that and say, this is what I don't have. Who can bring this to the table that's inspired by this cause? This is what I don't know. Who has this has this knowledge that is willing to help us drive the ball down the field? And I think a lot of people make the mistake of aligning a group of friends behind something that don't necessarily have the skill sets of what the outcome needs to have. And so failure is easy that way. And in my former, prior to leaving for Germany, I did a couple of endeavors that I surrounded myself with people just like me. And that's not how you structure a team in a corporate environment. That's not how you structure a team anywhere. But when you are trying to get to a goal and you don't necessarily know how to get there, you got to surround yourself with people that have different objectives, different ideas, and different skill sets than you. And whether you like them or not, I mean, if you like them, great. That's the cherry on top. The objective needs to be greater than your own personal comfort. So the bigger things that I have done, like Hearts for Honduras and Positively Roswell, or in the community, like those 2 endeavors, have been with people that aren't my friends. and people that I have said, you know this, I have no idea about this. Can you challenge me on what I think is right and wrong? And that's why those two specific things have been tremendously successful. So
I think that's very important. I've had to learn that too, is that you have to have confidence in yourself and know that, I'm going to surround myself around people that'll bring the best, and then just let it all fall out and see what happens. And I would agree that brings the best product forward.
And there's one person in particular, actually two, and they both, one was my friend first and one became my friend through service. And now they're both Rotarians, and they weren't at the time. But Jay Small is exceptionally talented in everything that I have no idea about. He knows numbers. He is matrixed and structured, and kind of follows behind me saying, well, if you're going to think about it that way, you need to think about it that way. And he's right. And I have another friend, her name is Natasha Carey, and she's event magic. And we just happened to be friends first. And she did events for Wolfgang Puck and worked for Wolfgang Puck Catering. And she's just a dynamo. And, the idea comes and the goal comes. And then I do a lot of the fundraising, and Natasha comes in at the end, and it's magic.
So you mentioned it in Positively Roswell.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that, and I'd like to apply maybe what you can as far as the organization, the group that you formed and work with, and how you made it work.
So there are three co-founders. It's myself, Ty Anderson, and Doug Curling. And what we wanted to do was, the state of national politics is the most contentious it's ever been in history. And somehow it's seeped down into local politics.
Yeah.
And that's not where it should be.
No.
And you have party politics playing out in local politics, and it's
the pettiness just gets in the way.
It is, and it makes me sad. Yep. Quite frankly. So we decided that we need to do something about it, and to help drive voter turnout, to get better people involved and engaged. And how are we going to do this? How are we going to get a citizenry that was somewhat apathetic about local politics engaged and realize the significance that it plays? And so we went after, again, like, I don't do anything without Jay Small, because his perspective is the exact opposite of mine, almost in everything. And so we brought people that we knew in different areas. We have the PTA Tiger Mom that I know nothing about PTA or Tiger Mom or anything. And then from a strategy perspective, we brought people that have data, and people formerly that had run campaigns, so they can kind of anticipate what the campaign rhetoric might look like, and how do we combat against the negativity in that and keep people engaged in their community and drive voter turnout. So it was a very strategic team. I knew three of the members.
When did you form?
We formed in we started talking about it in November of 16 and formally formed in January of 17.
Because you were pretty involved in 2017.
Yeah, it was really quick. And the people that we asked were immediately engaged and immediately involved, and it ended up being tremendously successful. We had more people run for office in the city of Roswell than we had ever had before. We had the biggest voter turnout than we had ever had before. And it engaged a community that was somewhat apathetic previously. So it's been exciting for the city of Roswell.
And so you did two things, which I thought was pretty impressive. What you increased engagement in your reach. You got people that didn't know what was going on, didn't understand, to start to see the picture of what's going on in their community. And then you also set a baseline of expectations of how we treat each other as a community as well. I think, which was a big feat.
Yeah, and there's there is a lot of information on Facebook specifically that's based in emotion and hysteria, and people will look at those sites and take them for fact. And Positively Roswell tries to engage people in events where they have facts and data. Yeah. And we're very facts and data oriented. We like to have fun with it. Roswell's a beer drinking town, so most of our events are at breweries. but it's been a really good, successful outcome. And I think that we'll continue to see that outcome in the upcoming elections.
Yeah. So you started in January 2017, really kicked it off. So what types of events did you have? How did the team form? Tell me a few stories on that.
So the team formed based on my weaknesses and Ty's weaknesses. Yeah. So Ty's a marketing genius. I don't know. Do you know who Ty Anderson is?
I don't think we've met. No.
He's great. He has a podcast too, and way better than this one.
Oh my goodness! And
Just
now it has started.
So he has a podcast as well, and he's a dynamo, right? So basically based on my weaknesses and Ty's weaknesses, and so we filled in the team around that. And they're all from different sides of town. They have different influences and different. It's interesting, and we didn't do this on purpose. It just kind of happened. But if you look at the makeup of our street team, which is 12 members, there's probably 4 independents, 4 Democrats, and 4 Republicans.
Oh, that's good.
we didn't do it intentionally. It just ended up being that way. So we have a good variety of conversation as well. And in the most divided district, in the most divided time in the United States, we're able to have these really raw conversations.
So as a group, you're trying to get things done. When you have three equal, 4, 4, and 4.
Yeah.
How do you move towards consensus, or how do you, as a group, say, okay, let's put a timer on this, and then this is how we move forward?
So I'm kind of the referee person. So and there's usually not anything even from a side conversation that comes to blows, shockingly, because everybody has so much respect for the other one that they know it's all coming from a good place.
Just a lot of restraint.
And if we could infuse that into other places, I think the world and the United States would be a much better place.
Yeah.
So.
Well, good. So what's next for you?
Next for me, well, our company, on the company side, we're growing tremendously. So we'll probably see a little bit more investment in that. It's going to be a big year for Positively Roswell. So I'm excited to see how the community comes together and engages. Specifically, we become pretty invested in the election cycle, because part of our charge is to drive voter turnout. And then also I have applied for the National Recreation and Parks Association board.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So we'll find out more details on that in May. But my passions are Roswell, poverty alleviation, and health and wellness. And so I'm trying to capitalize on that health and wellness side and see where it takes me next. So that's my big 2019.
2020 transfer to Alpharetta.
2020. Wait, no, I think I'm going to move here just to run against you.
I think you got to do that by May. So I told you I got quick. The real estate agents, and I'd be excited. That'd be a show to watch.
Where is the Alpharetta line where I can still be in a Roswell school district?
Maybe Upper Embry.
Okay. All right.
I think that's it.
All right.
You let me know. I'll try to get the jurisdiction there for you.
So what's next for you? Now, you're still on the Recreation and Parks beat here in Alpharetta.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Yeah. What's next for me?
Yeah.
I don't. It's gonna be something big. I've been pretty excited of what what we've done as a community. We've added 30 acres of new parkland, which is what I wanted. We added a great executive director for our Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, I know
Do you
that
know
guy.
him?
Yeah.
Morgan?
So let me tell you guys a little story about Jason. In that same meeting where he says I basically, tried to extort him for money for whatever golf project that I was running at that time, he asked me at the time I was on the Recreation Commission for Roswell. And Roswell is a gold medal award-winning organization, nationally recognized. If there is one thing about Roswell that people talk about, it's our parks.
Yes.
In a positive manner. And so Jason said, how do you get to that level? That commission, and I'll talk about the Recreation Commission as well, that it was at the time like a Fortune 500 board. So we were able to move things pretty quickly as well. And we had the best director in the state of Georgia at the time. His name was Morgan.
At the time, yeah.
At the time. His name was Morgan Rogers. And so Jason asked me, how do you get to be at that level? And I said, it's easy. You just hire Morgan Rogers. And then 6 months later, Jason Binder hired Morgan Rogers.
Well, let's be very clear. And I'm glad you did bring it up, because y'all do have a fantastic board that, again, the team, that you're part of a great organization. Somehow, with you even still being on the commission in any group, for any organization you join, you have a fantastic team somehow. And so they persevere through it.
Yeah.
But that's what I was very impressed with. And Morgan was good. And at the time too, we had the best director, and Mike Perry. So who you should really blame is Sandy Springs.
No.
Sandy Springs was the one.
It doesn't rhyme with Jason Binder.
I know it's a good story and you think it's my fault, but that is another good example of you being part of another good team. But Morgan's been doing great here. He's a fantastic Alpharetta resident, and
things worked out the way that they were supposed to with us. We hired Jeff Leatherman out of California. We conducted a national search, and he is fantastic. So Morgan's where he needs to be, in Roswell Recreation and Parks is where it needs to be as well.
Well, and you mentioned that you're going to the board for the national NRPA.
Yes.
Say that. What is that again?
National Recreation and Parks Association.
For
the United States.
Yeah. So for everything. So that's on the up and up of what you're doing. But in North Fulton, I do think having a strong team of municipal leaders would hopefully lead to more of a regional planning for our parks and recreation.
Well, the good things about being associated with recreation and parks is we're the good guys. So outside of stealing somebody's director, there's not much bad blood that you can. There's not much bad blood that you can create. So everybody, it's a win when you're talking about recreation and parks. So it would be, that's an interesting concept, and there probably should be a North Fulton Advisory Council on that. Yeah. Just for instance, I know that Milton, and I think it's Milton, not Alpharetta, is looking at an adaptive complex. Correct?
I think we're trying to work together on creating one.
And Roswell has a blueprint of how to do that, and specifically with the Dream Field and the Dream Complex, and how do you fundraise, and that's another piece of something that I was passionate about and actively involved with, was that. And Morgan had called me on it a couple of weeks ago, and we chatted at a high level. But that is something that when you combined the blueprint that Roswell has, the ideas that Milton and Alpharetta have, if you combine it together, it benefits the entire community. So. Yeah.
Well, because I think y'all had your Dream Field. We have our Miracle League field at North Park, and adaptive playgrounds is good. Working with kids with special needs, and as we're looking more and more into it, the entire families for kids with special needs, how much help and support they need. We've barely cracked the surface on that, I think.
Right.
And that's probably going to have to be a multi-municipality outreach on there. So I hope that can maybe lay the
I look
framework.
forward to your leadership on that.
It's trying. It's slow going, but the good news is I think all the municipalities are talking, and then that's been a good thing, and it's something that needs absolutely to get done. And I agree with you, because that's a niche that I think we could work together and serve them better.
And from a national basis too, it's something that the NRPA is focused on as well. And you talk about the 3 pillars of the NRPA, but the creating social equality is one of them. And in North Fulton, that is where we're deficient, specifically within adaptive needs. So,
well, good. So that's how you and I can work together finally.
Maybe.
You said you get groups that even without friends, so it should be all right.
You're a perfect fit.
Well, so if anybody would like to get a hold of you to learn more about the different things that you're involved with, how would they do that?
Email me. All of my information is out there. I'm pretty easy to find.
They can find you at Alpharetta City Center.
Yep. Okay. Alpharetta City Center. I work coalition, hanging out on parking decks. But yeah, I'm just Theo Keyserling. All you have to do is Google it, and I'm pretty sure all my information pops up. I'm easy. I make myself easy to find.
How about Positively Roswell?
PositivelyRoswell.org.
Perfect.
Yes.
So thank you so much for showing up. I'm glad I'm out of here a little bit unscathed, or pretty much unscathed.
Well, I do have a fundraiser coming up that we'll talk about offline, and I expect to be compensated for this, just like you pay your friends.
That's right. So thank you, Theo, for joining me today. Don't forget to look for the North Fulton Serves podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the show. You can follow me on Twitter at Jason Binder, and be sure to tune in every Thursday for a new episode. Thanks for listening.